in the west, in the south, in the east. We give forth the signs. We vibrate to completion, and such are the words. We formulate the tune of our adeptship. We plunge the depths of our realization. We witness the heavens. We witness the earth. We witness the hells. We grow and bring out our own light. Love and life. Even in darkness. And do you have anything to say before we get into number 9? Binah Comes in Soph, Middle East Prophecies from the Oracles of Sitael, received and written down by Michel Salomon de Orange, or Frater Solomon.
Change the vibration, sound of the voice. That can open it spiritually. Like when a person's out or open, they see the true side. And it's contrary, and usually the welcoming to the ways of society. And bring forth that inner light.
And maybe it's waited a year for between discussing the last 8 or something like that because of I don't know quite the words to say this without swearing, and I don't really feel like that's the way, but that's my way. But you know the nonsense they're putting on the news. So let's pause. So for these 10 sections that were between January of 2001 of the Common Era and January of 2005. What are your initial thoughts?
To me, like a blessing to course, spiritual voices will show, in the person of other people. Yeah, spirituality will affect that person. And if it's good, then maybe it's able to see that person. 2001,
And this has 68 lines. I don't know if that's significant. But there's some stuff in what we went over that, I'm going to have to look up what some of these words mean as we go along, right? So the first thing that we come across is tahib. And tahib is probably some Hebrew for to desire or something like that. And there's a reference to the Okay, there's a Samaritan belief, and there's the Samaritans believe in this individual. Um, Binah, let's just say it's the left shoulder, and so again a Kabbalistic reference, and the first three Sephirot are like said to be a mirror of Ein Sof, hour. So I guess the last is in is in the middle. Okay, so iron is not to be used with this individual. So there's a tradition of keepers. And well, the Samaritans are the group that didn't accept some of the later books. So some of the later books aren't accepted as among this. Um, but the Assyria, the Ashur is probably the Assyrians, right? Okay. Yeah, it refers to the Syrians. So the Mesopotamians, and it's believed that they extend up to Russia and stuff like that. So basically, the whole Gog and Magog and the Mahdi and stuff is like repeated over and over again in different ways. And well, one of the things that people who don't read the Quran may not realize in this first portion of 8 lines is that the whole blood and soil thing, nobody gets preference because of their ancestry or their nationality. Certainly, you protect the people of your nation before you protect other people, I would say, but it doesn't support that thing. So the idea of whether a person's a Jew or not ethnically, they don't care. And honestly, people have there was a lot of most of the ancient Jews ended up, I mean, at the time, ended up converting to Islam, not because they were forced, because they don't allow that to happen. And they don't accept forced conversions. Some of the Christians, all they cared is that they got people in the church. They didn't care if you were authentically Christian or not. Um, just like I was reading a book and they yell at people. They would yell sermons at the sick people in the hospital, and they're like bragging about we always have a preacher that can raise his voice above no matter what's happening at the hospital. And it's like there's burn victims and broken bones and stuff. People coming in. The idea that your preacher there's no interruption in hearing preaching in that place. I don't know if that's something. um, and you go to these poor places. They claim that they're persecuted because it's like no, you wave poor food in front of the poor people. You must have a Western name and claim to be Christian and get baptized, and then we'll start giving you food. And it's like, or at the very least, they say they line you up and they line up hundreds of or thousands of people in stadiums and stuff and say, we'll give you food if you attend a sermon. And it's like, and right next to people starving to death, and it's like they do that, big surprise. Oh, thousands of people are coming to Christ in the land that actually people are leaving actually. But the whole thing is so basically from the area that includes what was Palestine, because you have the Ebla kingdom, the Elam kingdom, basically. So there's a uniting of those kingdoms. And if you remember in the Bible, one of the things you have these people of Gaza and the West Bank and Iran and Afghanistan are going to join with Russia to destroy these foreign invaders. And in this prophecy, there's talk about these people were too dark to be blessed. So the real Semites are brown skinned and have black woolly hair, but the ones that are saying, "Oh no, no, these people are," it's like these are the real descendants of the people who lived here. Thank you very much. Um, and so this and even if that wasn't true, it's like if they had really just been gone for a couple hundred years, you don't have the right to retake over the land and kick out the local inhabitants because you decide, oh, a couple hundred years ago, so no one that they knew could have possibly been involved in this. It just doesn't make sense. But people are like, the thing in the Bible, it's like when they start filling the wells, when they start besieging these people, and the besieged people are going to be the ones that beat them, and start being the greatest oppressors on earth. It's like, flee for the hills, what does it say in Ezekiel and Hosea and stuff? Flee for the hills, one of those places. Flee for the hills, O Jerusalem, because the destruction is at hand. So one of the things it's talking about here. But amongst this, there's going to be something else. Now, honestly, all that needs to be happen is cut off the foreign aid, and people will find their justice. Um, and people don't understand a lot of things. It's like, okay, since Islam doesn't allow persecution of people who believe different, or conquering because they believe different, so that's nonsense. And jihad means struggling. So at the end, you have this thing. Oh, if the chosen fail to struggle, so see, if there's not the struggling, or the struggling is not in the right cause, then the world doesn't get made better. So that last section of seven lines, and the apocalypse, see, the apocalypse is every generation we form our own understanding of what is, supposed to be there. And Kafir, again, okay, a nation that has covered the truth of the ultimate path. It's not the same thing as, oh, you're not, you're of the different nation, so you're, you know, well, you read adventure novels and watch the news. It kind of discourages you from actually finding out the truth about some of these things. So I'm not going to blame these people too much, because their knowledge of Islam and some of these other things is probably from the news, and they're probably missing those things from the Talmud that says that that you can abuse any non-Jew, and you're not allowed to tell on any non-Jew, and try to kill all the non-Jews who look into our law. It's like this.
Yeah, the way is political.
So that is why we talk about the Karaites, and the Karaites. Okay, I want to look out how to say it, because that's not the. I don't know how. Okay, what is this? I want to look up the word, because if I see it in. Okay, how do you pronounce it? Okay. Okay, it's not the. Interesting that there's a Karaites Turco-Mongolian tribe. And Lashun Dar is a dialect amongst them, but the Karaites, okay, it's spelt with a Q. Okay. Yahdut Karate. Okay. I thought so. I thought it was. But anyways, their thing is, as much as they do have tradition, that they try to turn directly to the scripture. And see, that's one of the things. So the different groups can understand. So the people trying to be of the Zodiac, so Tzaddik, of the Jupiter principle, the righteous individuals, the pious, etc., the idea that they're turning directly to things. They're not looking at what the liberals are going to take stuff away from the religious tradition. The conservatives are going to add stuff. They want to find out what the real message is. And okay, so the Samaritans again, yeah, if somebody accepts some of your path but not the whole thing, it's like, why not get along with them for what that is? Because there's always been this issue with the Samaritans and the Karaites. They're again another small group, and it's like, but they turn directly to the things. And honestly, somebody's a lot more useful if they can turn directly to the reasons for things and make their own conclusions and live their own life and all that stuff. Um, And so a guided one. Well, the Bible talks about the 12 about the Mohammeds in the book of the Song of Songs, and the Mechmadim, because they don't say ha, they say cha. But if you read it in that dialect, you again, Mohammedim is how you say it. Mechmadim is your typical way of saying it, or I mean the more older way. But and Jebus, who's Jebus? Did I make the point about the? Oh, is Jebus the one who they talk about the guy in pain? Um, you know that thing that they're like, oh, the guy they write this real long, they write a whole book on like one verse, and they drag it back and forth like some weird place. But Jebus is a trampled place. Oh, Yebus. And okay, people are more and more people are admitting that the book of Joshua is not as historical as people would like it to be. Um, because they're scrambling in the tradition. There's stuff that they say happened that didn't happen for hundreds of years, and they say stuff happened in different orders. Um, oh, and actually, it actually goes back to a people that's at least so about 2,000 years before the Jews, there was this group, and the Maria Syria group refers to them. So this bit towards the end of okay, so somebody can make something a curse. That's definitely the case, is that you get an opportunity for something, and then it could turn out to be problematic. Um, and obviously the downtrodden, so those downtrodden are going to be uplifted. And eventually, that becomes true anyway. You look at any of these conquerors that mess things up, whether you're talking about the Maccabees or whoever. Um, and honestly, a guided one that's it's going to be beneficial for everybody, even if they're not of the same thing. So the last of the 12, see that this is kind of messing up mythologies. Um, and okay, some false messiah is going to be slain, but then again, a real messiah slain. But when you have that hero god stuff, they're all slain. So it's a Christian idea. But the interesting thing, it's like, yeah, there's something that remains in every path. That's one of the things I said to someone is that there's something that remains in every path that is going to be, that ends up being true. So, like they all pretty much agree. Now, this doesn't make any mention of it. It talks about a trial of flames and war that 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 comes upon Jerusalem, and something happens with Damascus. Okay, again, other scriptures are relating to that. Seoshant is the same thing as Mahdi, Messiah, that sort of thing. Except in the religious sources, it's kind of, it's not like, oh, he's a Messiah, she's a Messiah, everybody's a Messiah. That's not what's going on with that stuff. Um, and the rededication of the temple. You know what happened? You know what happened like the 600s? They cleared off the Temple Mount and they opened it for everybody who was going to wear pants and not do weird animal rituals there. And by weird animal rituals, I don't mean that people did their practice their different religions with their own sacrifices and stuff. I mean that, uh, you know, dragging around animals backwards and patterns and the sort of things they do in India before they do the sacrifices and um I mean not all the sacrifices require bestiality, but a lot of them do. And they're like, these Muslims, they oppressed us, they told us we can't have sex with a cow before we slaughter it, so we'll never eat cow again. It's like, okay, that's the I did a video proving this, so I'm not it's not hate speech, and a lot of people don't believe this stuff. Um, and some places are going to be taken over by wild animals. You just look at some of the towns that have been abandoned because of nuclear or other pollution. If this happens in a wide scale war or something like this, some places are going to be abandoned. And if the power shuts off, even if that's what happens, again, some of these places are going to be abandoned. And it is if Egypt gets its liberation, it's no longer going to help this other nation. If you know about Sisi's family and the terrorist organization that Sisi's family was involved with before it changed its name in the 40s, or was it early 50s? Um, so there's a reason why Egypt has not been free. But if once Egypt's free, I do agree that this other place is, you know, not going to be uh, and well, areas that are going to be barren obviously will have to be repopulated. Now there is the idea. Elon Musk has been. Now I'm going to be watched by all the people of that one group, right? Um, the uh, Elon Musk has been talking about we need to do two. If we if either we go to Mars and put life on Mars, or that sort of stuff, or there'll be nuclear war and we won't do that. So it's like, but we need to focus on making things better for here. But like there's this drug they're starting to give all the cows to prevent them from passing gas, because cows, their bacteria and stuff, they end up there's not much. It mentions the red heifer, so I'm justified here in talking about cows. Thank you very much. Um, and and honestly, if the tradition is that there's already been Israelite the pre stationary temple Israelite temple period, Israelite temple period, and then the 550 BCE temple period. So you have three main temple periods before you have the Jews, and then you have the Maccabee temple period and the Bar Kokhba temple period. Yes, I know there was the Herodian rebuilding, but that was really part of the whatever. So, but if you say that too, then you could say there's already been three. So there's been three, and then there's three, and now you're talking the Zionist temple. They want a Zionist temple. But if you look at it, perhaps we're already in the seventh temple period, because the Muslims said, "Hey, we're opening it to the world. We're opening the place to the world." And you know and so that's one of the things. You don't need to kill everybody in the area that's not a Jew, and kill a perfect pair of red heifers that only have red hair. And I don't only have red hair, so I guess someone can't come up with some weird ritual. uh there's at one point I was strawberry blonde, but one point whatever, there's different names for my hair. I'm kind of like Cuchulainn. I'm kind of like Cuchulainn. I have this. I have brown hair that bleaches blonde. I have some hair that's blonde anyways, and I have some red in there. So it's like I'm the great. I compare myself to the great. Except I'm not dying with 1,000 arrows in me. Probably not. Um, other than that, I like to compare myself sometimes to the great Irish, Scottish folk hero Cuchulainn. Um, not that I think I'm that type of hero or something. I just, because of the hair color and stuff. You saw the video where someone read off that that's what I was doing. It's like, uh, and one of the things that people, I forget, Balder. What's your opinion of Balder? There's some reference to the Norse thing. So the son of Odin and Frigg, hero, killed by the brother with a mistletoe. Okay, so the mistletoe isn't just a trick to get people to kiss you. It's reference to killing people too. Just like most people don't know about the new year and the goats, and the fact that Thor and Loki Thor is honored by the goat ornaments on the trees. And Thor and Loki are both considered a Jotun, and Jotunheimer is the realm of the vampires, basically. I mean, they're the eaters. They're the eaters. But basically, you got the fire beings, the light beings, and the clay beings. So it's the same basic thing throughout mythologies, but people get confused. Like there's an argument right now online in a comment section, something that I commented on. It's like angel means different things in English. Don't say there's no fallen angels in your mythology because you're not, because in your language, the word for fallen angel is different than the word for the ones that weren't. It's the same beings. And but basically one of my points is that from direction to direction, the different things from different religions is going to be fulfilled, and they all sort of kind of line up, not quite agreeing totally any of them with this arrangement, and a lot of it's kind of weird, but just like the whole apocalypse thing. So the apocalypses are constant. They're it's like the apocalyptic literature in the Bible. That was meant to explain what's going on. It wasn't per se as a prophecy. Just like Enochian magic and and some other types of magic are specifically apocalyptic. Um, and why certain animals? So scavengers and retreaters. So one of the things that we probably should be preparing for if there's going to be some disaster is retreat. Whether it's natural or by war, there's retreat. And Gog and Magog, it's like, well, stop messing with Russia and China, and maybe Russia and China would stay in their place. Because that's what they've been doing the past couple hundred years is they've been messing with China and Russia, and it messes up things for them, and it messes up things for us because it costs us to deal with them. And different tribes, like people think that the tribes in the Bible, whether they're the real ones or the pretend ones, it's like right now they have Levites and Cohens within the Levites that are not actually from those ancestry, but they've trained them according to that. Like the head of Israel right now is from the fake tribe of Dan. He's really from Poland or something, and his ancestors that you can tell by looking at him. He doesn't look, he's Slavic, all we know, whatever, but which is fine. It's fine being whatever ancestry you are, but pretending to be a Semite, I mean, what's the deal here, right? But and this thing too, like me, one of the things that I don't agree with is this professional religious class, this access controlling class. It's like, yes, expect people to behave themselves while they're there. Maybe don't expose them to the initiations as a thing until they're ready for the initiations. But the teachings and stuff, that should be available for everyone. Now, just like if you go to an OTO lodge, if you're not an initiate, or if you're not of a certain degree of initiate, or you haven't read the papers online that people have posted, whatever, you don't understand things in the same way. There's a lot of hermeneutics, as they call it. And one of the things that the Bible says is that these well fillers, these great oppressors, Nazium, as they're called in the Jewish sources before the Zionist movement, and definitely before the Bolshevik lies to cover up something. Now there was bad stuff going on during that war on both sides and stuff, but anyways, they came up with different terms to cover what they were doing, to cover that they were the Nazis. But anyways, there's the idea that their power will come to a final end. So there's been two kingdoms for these people, and basically they've more or less taken over almost every country in the world, but that's going to come to an end. And then there's going to be a light that's going to show, and it's not going to be about east or west or any particular place. That's what I'm gleaning from that. And again, that's another thing that the spiritualities agree, and justice kind of implies that, right? And the places, the fifth columnist being destroyed, that you know that's again connecting that thing, the fifth columnist, because you know what I mean. There's this general idea of four orders of society. You have the ruling class, which they're not supposed to order us to do war; they're supposed to do it themselves, right? They're supposed to be right there and do these wars themselves. Um, that's what they mean when chivalry is dead. We got politicians and celebrities trying to rally us up towards causes, and that's what they mean by chivalry is dead. They don't mean and fatwa is a ruling. So there's a difference between a ruling and a religious ruling. Just like sunnah means tradition, hadith means event or saying. It's like whose event, who's saying. So it's important to get some sort of sense of some of the words going on right there. And because last time we talked about asteroids and stuff, and it's like eventually there's going to be rather devastating asteroids to hit Earth again. But what exactly that's going to do? But then again, like the thing about the like the Bible talks about missiles blasting open hills. It's like so that even before they had the weapons to do this stuff, people were talking about destroying all life, most people on Earth, and how it was going to happen.
The books are they written as like a blueprint, like a plan? And
yeah, they've been trying to make things come across. It's like that book. I don't know if the videos came out yet. The thing about the apocalypse of Ahmadinejad. Um, they should have put forth the whole list and stuff. But the thing is, it's not. It's not the Iranians that were trying to do that. It's the other people. The Iranians were working towards religious freedom for their people, and they're like, they don't care. We don't care as long as you're not part of some foreign group to oppress us or something like that. We don't care what religion you are. Well, they do, but you know what I mean. They don't do anything about it. If you want to go to the synagogue and use some opium on Purim, they let that stuff go. You don't need a special license like you do in America. You have to get it approved through the federal government for your Native American church to have whatever. Not that I believe that drugs are necessary or even the right thing or anything like that. Sorcery I don't think is necessary, but the thing or you know, but the thing is it's like, you know, they allow it for people because it's like people are going to do things according to their belief, just like the thing about Hanukkah. Are we recording on Hanukkah? I think we still are. It is Hanukkah. So the thing is that about that is that you got this or is it anyways, yeah, I think it's the last of Hanukkah. But so circumcision, whether you agree with it or not, whether you take the science or the people that ignore the science and are following it religiously, okay, if 1 out of 7 or 10,000 or something like that has what, I'm not sure what it amounts to when you combine the conditions, but it's something like 1 out of every 7,000 or so boys or girls need circumcised for health reasons. You know, just because of a minor birth defect. But that doesn't mean you circumcise everybody. If 90% of the immune system is in the foreskin or the clitoral hood, there's a reason why the immune system's there. And nobody gets AIDS because they have a stronger immune system. That's garbage. People get AIDS because of exposure, and exposure. Again, there's there's medical there's drugs and treatments and stuff that we can't mention because the whatever, because we're talking on a video, but some of these things are there. And one of the things too is like, okay, if there's someone who dies, right? If someone who dies or their mission isn't complete, it's like sometimes it takes a lot of people to do stuff. I have this book, God Created the Universe, and it's edited by Stephen Hawking. It has like 31 different people that you're referencing, I think, and or 31 different works or so, or I forget exactly the numbers. It's a huge book. It's actually a page turner, I think, because he left the stories into. It's not just math formulas. Of course, you can look over math formulas pretty quickly, especially if you're listening to something. So, anyways, but the point is that we still need to do our work, and regardless of what's out there, if everything's perfect, the information's there, the opportunities are there, we still need to do our work. And also, one of the things, so many of these things that humans do, revelation and inspiration isn't exactly the same thing as chosen. You can work mystically and have experiences and whatever, but you don't just show up at the mirror and say, I'm going to get exactly this information and And even if you got some entity that's regularly talking to you, it's not necessarily, that's not how quite how it works. But we, we do our work. And if anybody, and it takes sometimes hundreds of people, thousands of people for one person to accomplish figuring something out. One person able to do something. So the reason why you don't have Buddha yoga anymore is because they gave up on it, and therefore now you center on certain figures that are called Buddha, whether it's a grouping of 3 or 4 that is the more common idea of Buddha or some other idea. It's because it narrowed down. But you needed all those people doing Buddha yoga to produce all the Buddhas that resulted in Buddhism. You needed a bunch of messiahs before people dropped off and oh, we're only going to worship one. See, that's the thing they made about the worship. But regardless, the effort of no one is forgotten. There's work to continue, and well, one of the things though too is like some people do pretend like people are still alive, and the point is not about them being alive. When Muhammad died, people didn't want to believe that he was dead too. But somebody recited the Quran about, if he dies or is killed, who's going to turn their backs? And it's like, okay, now we understand. And so that guy was elected the next leader. And that was why. But see, he wasn't in the same thing. And people are going to realize, just like that, one of the things in the book of Revelation is like, yeah, there are going to be people that are going to realize in the afterlife what happened to the other people, what happened to the people, whether it's after them or on the other side, whether you're in a realm of punishment or reward, you're going to kind of have an idea of what's going on with the other side, right? Because that would enhance the whole thing, anyways. But one of the things that a lot of the people with it's like it makes sense to wait. It can skip generations, your influence. So the reincarnation doesn't make as much sense in that way because it's like, wait, if the influence and you're being judged upon your influence, you really have to wait till humanity's done being influenced before you know the final thing of anybody else. And honestly, you have constant changes in life. But I don't know. I guess and peace is connected to words of wholeness, and people get the promise, but they talk about a ancestral thing. But maybe the guy didn't know that the Jews and Semites aren't the same thing. And banished tribes, again, it's not the same groups, but they're not banished. See, they weren't banished. What happened to the 600s? Another time, it's like not even Hamas has any issue with there being Jews or Christians or whatnot there or any tribe. That's not their issue. The Palestinians in general, you could call them, they're not terribly concerned with who are the ancestors. That's not their issue. Um, but the promise, there's different opinions of the promise. The Muslims don't believe in the ancestral promise. They believe in the promise of those who follow the tradition. And you can't just be the Abrahamic. I hate that word because of what that does. People talk about the Abrahamic, and it's like, wait, if Abraham condemned the this group of profession, if he wanted people to follow along, and he and people, you know what I mean. People could be their own priests and priestesses, so you didn't have a professional priestly class. Yes, yes, you could give money to somebody that you trust to distribute it, or whatever. But it wasn't about some professional class setting aside and doing the work, as they say. The Cohens do the work. I'm not quoting too much now that we're not talking about that, but do you have any closing thoughts on
overall, overall the labels, following the individual. I guess I could say some things. I really just one own within and not letting that be interfered.
Okay, let me I want to come up with a closing here. Every person pure of heart, pure of mind, pure of soul, who closes their night or opens it with rituals may become one of those who change with the times of moon and sun. Oh, and I couldn't really think of anything else to add to that, right? Um, okay. Air, fire, water, earth. Mother, father, son, daughter. Creation, maintenance, destruction. Exalted, slain, and transformed. Within me are the holy rays. Through me goes the song beyond songs.